Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new Black Foxes album. It's self-titled. Black Foxes are a UK-based emo indie rock band. They've been at it for a few years now. And you know what? I'm just going to come out and say it. I slept pretty hard on these guys at first. For years, a lot of people very close to me have been pushing Black Foxes on me, telling me that I would love their stuff. By the time that I got around to listening to their debut, I'm Not Well, I'll be honest, it was kind of too late to really report anything on it. But I instantly got it. I instantly was a fan of these guys. I loved their incredibly passionate, explosive performances, as well as their deeply personal lyrics. These all, to me, harken back to a really simple time in the genres that they touched down on. To me, Black Foxes just seemed to really get it. And their follow-up album, Rady, was just so much bigger, just so much more epic. It was also full of drama, and it really took off. A lot of people loved this album. I was happy to see them really getting sort of a cult following. However, these new singles, I don't know, I haven't been into them. To me, Black Foxes have always kind of had this indie rock background, like sort of an indie rock vibe to the background of their music, and I always was kind of worried that it would maybe rear its ugly face a little bit more. Let's chat about this thing. Early on in this album cycle, people kept pushing the Badlands single at me. They were really hyping this up. But I don't know, man. This just is not for me. I think the songwriting is fine. A lot of the songwriting on this album actually kind of saves it for me. But to me, it doesn't really have a lot of direction to it. I feel like this track really is trying so hard to seem tense, seem a little tightly wound as well. But let me tell you, there's nothing in this near 8 minutes that they haven't done on their first two albums so much better. And by 8 minutes, I mean almost 9 minutes. I stand corrected. It's not for me, compadre. Drug Holiday is also really boring. Look, with the type of genres that Black Foxes deal with, you're gonna have these very slow, hushed, pensive tracks, but it doesn't have to be this boring. It is so slow and nothing happened. Not only that, but all of a sudden Black Foxes to me just seem like a cheap imitation of like the later days of Sunny Day Real Estate. It's personally just not what I want to see them putting out. Swim, once again, just not feeling it for a lot of the same reasons, actually. Once again, I get that we are going to get some more pensive and quiet tracks, but this is not for me. Mostly on this one is the vocals. They're not cutting it. As far as the instrumental goes, I don't completely hate this. It shows them branching off into some dreamy directions, which is fine. That's totally fine. But it's just not fresh sounding. It's not the revitalization of these sounds like they were doing on their past two releases. And once again, the emotions just don't seem here anymore. This album does have a few bright moments. For one, its album's intro, I Am, is great. This is the perfect example of a slow, pensive track from Black Foxes that pays off. Not only that, but it's just so raw sounding. It gets me hyped up to listen to a Black Foxes project, and it really let me down when I didn't enjoy a lot of this album. I digress though. This track as an intro completely revs up, gets pretty heavy, gets pretty awesome by the end of it. I like My Skin Is as well. This one has a little crunchiness to it. Love the bass riff here. This to me is the complete package. It practically has some shoegaze elements in this very washed out chorus and some of the guitar tones and the dreamy vibes once again. Not only that, but as far as an emotion goes, this track is packed with it. Wrap them up with some sonic guitars and some really fantastic songwriting. This is where I wanted to hear Black Foxes. Panic at first I wasn't feeling, but it's actually grown on me a little bit. It's still not as explosive or as raw as I wanted to hear this album. But at the very least, this seems plausible to me. It has its own sort of quiet intensity to it. Like I said, this was not the sort of direction that I was expecting to hear. It's a little whimsical at times. It's even hard to place. But for a little bit of a branching out sound from Black Foxes, this isn't that bad. And Jungle Skies I like actually quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I think it's the best track here. It's a little bit more focused sounding. For me, I feel like, once again, this is the sound that I expected to hear a lot of on this album. It's a great balance between this really solid instrumental, some super visual songwriting, some throwback emo vibes, as well as this indie rock influence here that doesn't come off as cheesy. And once again, it's one of the genuinely most emotional tracks here. Oh, God, but you know what? The rest of this album, it may not be the worst rock music I've heard all year, but man, let me tell you, this is a letdown because my hopes were high. Pacific is a weird one. The first entire unflattering minute here, as well as the final unflattering minute here, just completely could be wiped out. Outside of that, though, there are some pretty cool, dreamy rock passages here. It's very colorful. Some of the jammy guitar solos are actually pretty cool, but I'm not entirely sold on it, even though it's not the worst thing here, mostly because this kind of comes off like a jam in the least flattering way, like Black Foxes were just hanging around saying, oh wow, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? I mean, it's probably more good than bad on this track, but it's still not what I expected. And the Diving Bell as a finale is, let me tell you, really hard to wrap my head around. Let me just say this. If you're in the more emotional side of guitar-driven rock with some hazy atmospheres and some throwback vibes as well, go listen to the new Nothing album, or go listen to like 8 other albums before this. Because this is flat. Lyrically, this just sounds like it was penned in 5 minutes. It's some of the safer, least abrasive emo and indie rock that I've heard all year. I mean, I can't say this is all bad because that gnarly riff is pretty cool. That final dreamy sequence, I actually think they're onto something there. But for now, every ounce of teeth about this band, the rawness of this band just seems to be out the window at the moment. I don't have a problem with Black Foxes branching out. As a matter of fact, some of the best moments here are when they breach out into elements of more, shoegaze and stuff like that. Maybe embrace their indie rock in a less cheesy way. That's totally fine. But a lot of this album just seems jammy, just seems off the cuff in the least flattering way possible. There's no direction to it. This is a letdown for me, sadly. I'm feeling a decent 6 on this thing, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.